English. Ol Malchut Shamayim is in Hebrew, but השאלה היא, האם השיעור יכול להיות באנגלית? So there's a special request. זה בסדר? רבותיי, אם נעשה זה באנגלית? יופי, אוקיי? I know what I'm doing. If you put them on the spot, they can't say no. They feel stupid. It's like one guy's going to say no. He doesn't want to be the one guy.
There we go.
So. Okay. רבותיי, לקום. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני הוא האלוהים, אדוני הוא האלוהים. אדוני הוא האלוהים, אדוני הוא האלוהים. אנא אדוני הושיענה, אנא אדוני הושיענה. אנא אדוני יצליחנה, אנא אדוני יצליחנה. אוקיי, אין עוד מלבדו, בשם השם נעשה ונצליח. לא עובד. אוקיי. אוקיי, רבותיי, ברשותכם, היו כמה שביקשו שנדבר באנגלית, אז בעזרת השם נצליח. אוקיי. So, I was thinking about what we should speak tonight, and B'siyata Dishmaya came to me that what we should speak about is exactly now, what we're all feeling right now. And I'm going to tell you this because this is how I feel, and this is what I see with other people who talk to me. And I think that when you see a pattern of something, you have to think a little deeper and ask yourself, why is this happening right now? The month of Tammuz is a very, it's a hot month, okay? People find themselves going out and about. You're at parties, you know, you're with friends, you're enjoying the nightlife, the day life, whatever it is. It's long days, and the nights, for some reason, kilu, you're just going to sleep later, myself included. And it gives an opportunity, or rather a chance, for people to start thinking a little bit too much about what they're seeing. One of the greatest, challenges that we have is the koach hadimyon. It's the ability to be able to be medamyen and to see things. And when I think about the summer, and I think about the month of Tammuz, and we'll talk about the mazal of Tammuz, because the mazal of Tammuz is mamash in sync with what we're about to say. But you also see the Parashat HaShavua, where it speaks about Bil'am and Balak. The greatest anti-Semite that has ever lived was Bil'am. And when Balak had to hire him in order to curse Klal Yisrael, one of the things he had to do was he had to go outside, he had to stand at the top of the mountain, and he had to be able to see Am Yisrael. Why? Because that's what's going to place Ayin Hara on them. Ayin Hara is a terrible, terrible thing. It's not mamash our discussion tonight, but it's important that we just speak a little bit about what Ayin Hara, the koach of Ayin Hara, what it does is that it basically boxes the person, okay? וזה לא נותן לו לגדול. It kind of puts a מסגרת around him, and it says, this is who you are, this is how you're going to stay. Bam, in that box. No הצלחה, no shefa, no bracha. This is kind of what the idea of ayin hara is. We'll speak a little bit about how you get rid of ayin hara, okay? Because it's all interconnected. About the time of the parasha, the time of what happened in the history during the time of Tammuz. And really, I find that so many people find themselves with this nisayon of anger because this is what the time of the year does. Tammuz is a hot month, you know? You look at the difference between, right, Ashkenazim and Sfaradim, right? You see, it has a lot to do with the way people grew up in certain places. It's mashpia, we're a lot more impulsivit, as Sfaradim and Ashkenazim are a bit more intellectual about things, they're more cold. Yeah, go and try to get a Russian to be emotional. This is not what they, you know what I'm saying? This is not what it is. They're very cold people. This is who they are. Mechila, if anyone is Russian or has Russian DNA in them, yeah? Right? You know what, I'll make you feel better. Every klal has a yotze min haklal. So you guys maybe are the yotze min haklal, okay? Sorry. Okay, good. Yeah. Passionate, okay, very good. Thank you very much. Passionate, it's much better. Anyway, Rabotai, I just want to share with you one of the most interesting and mamash on-point mishnayot that Pirkei Avot shares with us. And it's really connected to this week's parasha. כל מי שיש בידו שלושה דברים הללו מתלמידיו של אברהם אבינו, ושלושה דברים אחרים מתלמידיו של בלעם הרשע. You understood? No. Whoever has these three things, they're talmidim of Avraham Avinu, and whoever has these three things are talmidim of בלעם הרשע. עין טובה, רוח נמוכה ונפש שפלה. A person has a good eye. He looks at the good in other people. He looks at the good in things. רוח נמוכה, נפש שפלה, is humble מתלמידיו של אברהם אבינו. עין רעה, רוח גבוהה ונפש רחבה, but a person who's the exact opposite. He's haughty, he has a bad eye, מתלמידיו של בלעם הרשע. Now what's the difference? מה בין תלמידיו הרשע, מה בין תלמידיו של אברהם אבינו לתלמידיו של בלעם הרשע? תלמידיו של אברהם אבינו אוכלים בעולם הזה ונאכלים בעולם הבא. אבל תלמידיו של בלעם הרשע יורשים גיהינום ויורדים לבאר שחת. The תלמידים אברהם אבינו, they eat in this world and they take over עולם הבא, but תלמידים בלעם הרשע, they inherit גיהינום ויורדים לבאר שחת and get to the lowest of the lows. רבותיי, we could speak about kin'an, we can speak about kas, we could speak about jealousy and about anger, and we can speak about, a person not being besimcha. I want to just, and I'm speaking from my own experience and from what I see. I think if there was one midah, that if we just nail it down to the bottom and we try to figure out מאיפה מגיעים את כל הרגשים האלו? Where do all of these feelings come from? I think it comes from an inability to be a makir tov. Now, you'll tell me, what do you mean? I'm a makir tov. I always say thank you. I always look at the good. רבותיי, כשאנחנו מדברים על להיות makir tov and not to be a kafui tov, you have to understand that you could say thank you 100,000 times a day. It doesn't mean that you're a makir tov. A person who's a grateful person, he's a grateful person to himself, first and foremost. We're always trying to, different things in order to change the world. Sometimes we try to change our families, sometimes we try to change our employees, and sometimes we try to change our friends and our girlfriend and our boyfriend, and Rabotai, the only person we can really change is ourselves. And if you want to really have a better experience in this world, And I'm speaking to myself amongst all of you. But if we really want to mamash have a good experience in this world, we have to be able to look at the good in ourselves. You know, one of the great admurim once said, "Ma ha'onesh shel avera." What's the onesh of an avera? Anybody? Yafet. You listen to the same podcast I listen to? Yeah. The avera itself, it brings you down, it pulls you down. And the suffering that a person goes through in this world is from just having gone through the avera itself. Because everyone is good and everyone wants to do good. And some people are not ready, some people don't have a difficult time controlling themselves. But if we were really to be able to nail it down from the bottom, from the mamash, from the shoresh, it has to do with being grateful and not being a kafui tov. That's really, because if we're able to be grateful, then, you know, you're not going to be mekaneh other people. You're not going to. You're not going to be angry. Everything is from Shamayim. Everything is from Hashem. Why shouldn't I be happy? I'm not happy because I'm not grateful enough. And Rabotai, the worst avera, Rabbi Nachman says this. He says the worst avera is a kafui tov, is a person who doesn't say thank you for the things that he already has. Because we all get caught up so much in what we don't have, but we don't focus on what we perhaps do have. Chodesh Tammuz, Rabotai, Sefer Yetzirah speaks about this. The Zohar HaKadosh speaks about the koach of Tammuz. Tammuz, it's a very difficult month. The mazal of Tammuz is a sartan. But the truth is the crab. But the truth of the matter is that Tammuz has kind of two sides to it. Tammuz has until the 17th of Tammuz, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, and then it has from the 17th of Tammuz, which is on Monday night, Rabotai, it has from the 17th of Tammuz going forward. And one part of Tammuz is much better than the second part of Tammuz. It's very interesting because you don't necessarily have this throughout the months of the year. But Tammuz has this. It has from one katzet to the other extreme. One of the things that the Sefer Yetzirah says about Chodesh Tammuz, it's bibchinat chet. Every single month has its letter. Chet happens to be the letter of Chodesh Tammuz, which be'etzem shows Chaim. That's what it is. But sometimes we get mixed up with Chaim. Chaim ba'olam hazeh or Chaim ba'olam haba. We can't get mixed up between the two. Esav HaRasha has a koach when it comes to Chodesh Tammuz. Chodesh Tammuz brings a certain sadness to people. People are much slower because people are caught up in looking at what other people have and they're not focusing on the great things that they have themselves. Esav HaRasha, there's many psukim, Rabotai, in the Torah that correspond to the month also. You know, the pasuk that's given to the month of Tammuz is V'chol zeh enenu shaveli. Me'efo ba pasuk הזה? Anybody know? Aman HaRasha. Aman HaRasha said it, yafeh. Hamin ha'etz. So the Gemara asks, Haman min ha'Torah minayin. Where do I know Haman from the Torah? So it says the pasuk Hamin ha'etz hazeh. Where Adam HaRishon, right? He ate from the etz hadat, Adam v'Chava. Abotai, what was the big avera that they ate from the etz of the chet of the etz hadat? Anybody know? What was the avera? They lost their innocence, but deeper than that. They wanted more. Yafeh. So it goes back to what we were saying. They weren't grateful for what they did have. By the way, do you know what the first mitzvah in the Torah is? Anybody know? First mitzvah in the Torah. Yafeh. So that's if we're talking about mitzvot, as in one of the Taryag mitzvot. But I'm talking about the first thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded. Yeah. You ruined it. That's it. He's even closer. Lo tochal min ha'etz hazeh. Aval adayin, close but no cigar. What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu said? Mikol etz tochal. Eat from every tree. Aval ma? Min ha'etz hazeh al tochal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the first thing he told us is have fun. What are you talking about? Enjoy. Fadal, here, enjoy life. Enjoy so many trees you can have hana'ah from. But this one tree, and what did he say, Adam HaRishon? Right? Chava, okay, of course, blame it on the Nachash. The Nachash came, and the Nachash said, well, if you eat from this tree, you're going to be powerful like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And who doesn't want power? Right? No one wants power, right? Look all around you. אמרתי את זה למישהו, ומישהו מאוד קרוב אליי, והוא בניו יורק עכשיו. דיברנו על זה לפני שבוע. We're speaking about power, how people want power, and he was telling me, wow, calls me up after Shabbat, he goes to me, I don't want to give you names because you're going to know who it is, but you're right. This is like something that people really struggle with. Everyone wants power. Like parents want power over their children, unhealthy parents, and that's not the way it should be. A person has to learn how to let go. You have to be able to say, well, okay, I'm a parent, I have the koach to tell my child, don't do this, don't do that. But that's not your function. Your function, what's chinuch, rabotai? Chinuch ze lechanech. Ma ze lechanech? To teach a child how to develop himself. Not for you to try to control him, because then he never develops himself. Pitom, he's 18 years old, he's 20 years old, he's 40 years old, and he or she doesn't know how to make any decision in their life. Why? Because everyone else is making a decision for them. All right? Back to what we were saying. Haman min ha-Torah minayin, hamin ha'etz hazeh. All right? Where do you learn Haman? Haman says, v'chol ze enenu shaveh li. I have everything, but Mordechai is the only one. Shu lo rotzeh ishtachavot en li klum. That was what Esav said. By the way, Amalek comes from Esav. If you look at Balak and Bil'am, Rabotai, it's mamash this week's parasha. You take the letters of Balak and Bil'am, and you have what? You have Bavel, and you have Amalek. Rabotai, Esav comes from where? He comes from Bavel, comes from Rome. And then you have Amalek. Who comes from Amalek? Amalek actually comes from Esav, Rabotai. Rabotai, and what's Amalek? בגמטריה, ספק. 230 או 40, מי יכול לעשות את החישוב עכשיו? Right? 230 וספק, ספק, סמך 60, pay is 80, right? My math friends, 140, and kuf, 240, 240, יפה. Okay? כוח ספק. רבותיי, to be happy, you can't be בספק all the time. אין שמחה כהתרת הספקות. But let's go back to what we're speaking about, Rabotai. The letter Chet, we're looking for Chaim. We need to find positivity in this month. The crab, learn a little bit about the Sultan, and we'll understand a little bit about this month. You know, why is it that the mazal of this month is the Sultan? It's the crab. A few very interesting things about the crab, by the way. All right? First of all, their ability to be able to see goes all around. Like I'm looking at you right now, right? But I can't see what these guys are doing. If they're picking their nose, I don't know if they're doing that, right? But the crab could see that. He could see all around like this. Also, by the way, he has a shell that covers himself. You know that the shell that he covers himself, it doesn't grow with him. It sheds. And then he grows a new one as he grows older, right? Another thing about the crab is that if he cuts his arm off, it grows back. Anything that he has, it's a certain koach ha'itchadshut with the crab. Very interesting. And that's dafka de mazal. Now it's interesting that Moshe Rabbeinu, he sent the meraglim. We learned about the meraglim a few weeks ago to Eretz Yisrael. והם חזרו עם דיבור רע, ממש, לשון הרע, they came back with. You know what their mistake was, Rabotai? If you look at the psukim, it doesn't stop saying, מה שהם ראו, what they saw. והיינו בעיניהם כחגבים. We were in their eyes like chagavim, we were like grasshoppers. These guys are giants. They can destroy us in a second. The meraglim messed up, you know where? In their koach hadimyon, in their vision, what they saw. Rabotai, in life we see what we want to see. That's the klal. You know, I told the guys when was it, 2 Shabbats ago, I told them that, who was it? It was Korach. I asked them a very simple question, right? I said, Korach was a bad person, and he wanted control, and he wanted to throw over Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, one of the nisim that happened in the Midbar was that, the man that came down from Shamayim for the tzaddikim, they opened their door, it was right outside. They didn't have to go far. For the Benonim, they had to walk a little bit, and for the Rishaim, they had to walk outside the Machaneh. So this whole fight that there was between, Korach saying, hey, who does Moshe think that he's the leader? Kulanu kedoshim, we can all be leaders. Why didn't people just go outside Korach's house and see where the man ended up? Very simple. אז אתה יודע, אם הוא רשע, אם הוא צדיק. And Moshe Rabbeinu, כמובן, the man definitely was outside his house, right? So why was there such a safek? And 250 people, great people, they went to the side of Korach. Why? Why could there be such a thing? And one of the answers I saw, and it's fascinating, Rabotai, it teaches us so much about the teva of the Ben Adam, is that it doesn't matter what you see, Rabotai. It's what you want to see in life. It's what you want to see. Before you go in and you sell a project, you sell a kitchen, yeah? You have to be able to be midamien that you're going to make the sale. There's no such a thing you're not going to make the sale. The question is, how much will it be? Will it be 40 grand? Will it be 100 grand? Right? So that's the question. But you're going to make the sale 100%, Rabotai. You're going to be matzliach. It all has to do with the koach haratzon, Rabotai. This is what it all has to do with. Now, Tammuz is a very interesting month because I'll tell you why. When we accepted the Torah b'Sivan, so you know what level we got on? Each and every one of us, all of our neshamot, pitom we got to the level of Adam HaRishon lifnei hachet shel ha'etz hadat. That means that we were on the highest level possible. We were Baba Sali on steroids, Rabotai. Okay? And what happened? Moshe Rabbeinu, after we said Naaseh v'nishma, the Malachim came, and the Gemara says that the Malachim placed 2 crowns on each person's head, one for Naaseh, one v'nishma. Kamuvan, it was something spiritual. It wasn't a crown, right? Like whoever, right? And when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim in order to get the luchot and to bring the Torah down for 40 days and 40 nights, the Jewish people were in a big predicament. They said, what's happening over here? All of a sudden, they said, no, he said 40 days, but they didn't count right. 40 days, 40 nights, they didn't count correct. Pitom, what did they do? They went and they created the Egel HaZahav, and they went all the way down. Malachim came, 1.2 million Malachim came, and they each took away the crowns, the 600,000 crowns, one for Naaseh, one for Nishmas. There was 1.2 million. They took them away. Tov, the Gemara speaks about who got them. Moshe Rabbeinu got them, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu ends up giving us back, by the way, those crowns. We get them on Shabbat Kodesh, by the way. But that's not our discussion right now. What I want to go back to is when Am Yisrael lost those crowns, you know where they were. They were up here, and then they went all the way down there. How did they fall? With the koach ha-dimayon. What happened? The Satan all of a sudden made a picture and showed them Moshe Rabbeinu dead. And they were carrying Moshe Rabbeinu, and they said, we don't have a leader anymore. We were on such a high level. We want to get close to him. We want to feel that love. So what did they do? They said, okay, we're going to create something in order for me to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what did they do? They connected through an Egel HaZahav. Why the Egel HaZahav? The Egel comes from the shol, from the para. Ala merkava shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on the chariot of Hashem, Yechezkel says that there is a shol over there. So they created an Egel. The Ramban asks a simple question. He says, Im hakavanot shelahem haya tovim. They had good intentions. They wanted to connect to Hashem. So why did they get punished so badly? Why did they fall? They wanted to connect through the shol, through the Egel. So what's so bad about it? They wanted to connect to the chariot of Hashem. And the answer is, Rabotai, that the only way you can connect to Hashem is through His Torah and it's through His mitzvot. You could do hocus pocus all you want. and you could see things, and you can go to fortune tellers, and you could go to palm readers, and you can go to, forehead readers. Rabotai, if we don't have the Torah and the mitzvot, that's the only thing that can create a close relationship between us and Avinu Shebashamayim.
But I have a question.
Go ahead. Yeah.
They didn't have the Torah when they created the...
Right, but they were waiting for Moshe Rabbeinu to come down after they said Naaseh v'nishma. So they said, whatever he's going to come down with, we're going to listen, like whatever it is.
So they committed to Naaseh v'nishma.
They committed to it and they didn't keep to it. That was the problem. That was the problem. Yeah. And by the way, דוד המלך אומר את זה בתהילים, הוא אומר, אני אמרתי אלוהים אתם ובני עליון כולכם. אני אמרתי אלוהים אתם, מה זה אלוהים אתם? אתם כמו מלאכים. You're on such a high level, when you received the Torah, you were like מלאכים. ובני עליון כולכם. אכן כאדם תמותון וכאחד השרים תיפולו. But what? You're going to end up dying like men. You know that if we would not have sinned with the Egel HaZahav, you know what would have happened? Moshe Rabbeinu היה מגיע, הוא היה לוקח אותנו, each and every one of us, would have gone into Eretz Yisrael, he would have built the Bet HaMikdash, and the Bet HaMikdash that he would have built, en sikui ba'olam, anyone would have been able to destroy it. And what would have happened? Mashiach would have come, Tchiyat HaMetim, and by the way, we wouldn't be here, we would have all been in Gan Eden right now. Okay? But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So I just want to speak a little bit about the koach of Tammuz. The first part of Tammuz until Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, Abotai, you know when the Chet HaEgel was? On Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, זה ביום שני בלילה. לפני Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, from the beginning of Tammuz until the 17th, we were on the highest level possible. And all of a sudden, on the 17th, we fell down. And our neshamot feel it. And that's why I'm telling you, I feel a depression in the air. I'm speaking to people, and I feel people are very down. People are very much focusing on what other people have and not what they have. Especially now. You know that the gematria of Tov is what? Tet Vav Bet, the Shvaisre, 17. Up until the 17th of Tammuz, it's all Tov. After the 17th of Tammuz, it's not so Tov. But the neshama feels it. Throughout the entire Tammuz, the neshama feels it. Rabotai, any test that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us, you know what you need to do when you have a test? You have to go to the other extreme. You feel sad, you have to jump up in happiness. The Yeshua is going to come if you show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that even when there is a reason to feel sad, there's a reason. I feel sad. Don't feel sad. But Hashem, you make me feel sad. And it's okay, you could tell Hashem, you make me feel sad. Hashem is a big boy. Rabotai, you know what you need to do? You need to jump up and you need to try to be besimcha. Go against that regesh as much as possible. And אספר לכם סיפור מדהים. Okay, maybe I told you this once, but for those of you who've passed by CHAZAK, you'll never know it's CHAZAK because there's no sign on top, right? We're there almost 4 years. I didn't put a sign because I've been busy with the city of Los Angeles for years. They didn't want the Bet Knesset there. When we first came in, so some of the neighbors were upset. It wasn't Kaduri. It wasn't. He's a good guy. It wasn't my neighbor, right? The Goyim, Imach Shemam, right? So mamash mizera shel Amalek. They called the city on us because they didn't like the fact that a Bet Knesset was opening up over there. Anyway, what happened? Pitom, okay, they come, they stick a notice of what's it called? Of cease and desist, right, on my door when we were putting up the drywall. I was like, oh, for the next 3 years, I was busy dealing with the city. They didn't want a Bet Knesset there. They didn't want this. They didn't want that. I ended up saying it's an office. That's what I ended up saying. Yeah. Kitzur, even for an office, they made us crazy. They made us change the entire electrical. It was thousands of dollars. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put an electrician in my Kehillah. He always takes care of the electricity. He spoke to a friend of his who's an Arab, by the way, and the Arab said he'll do it for free. He's an architect. He had to do a whole thing, whatever. Anyway, it was that, and it was a bunch of plumbing issues. Now, I want to tell you one story. הגיע האינספקטור הזה, he walked in, and he's looking at the plumbing, and he says, this is no good, this is no good, this is no good. I wasn't there that morning. I asked Yossi Malul, כן, איזה צדיק אחד מהקהילה, להיות שמה. Anyway, he says, this is no good, this is no good, this is no good. Okay, he leaves, and all of a sudden, one of my guys, Aaron's brother, דין סחריה, הוא מסתכל והוא רואה שיוסי מלול מתחיל לרקוד. He's dancing, he's dancing. And he looks at him and he tells him, מה השתגעת? The guy just walked in, he put an X on everything. He says, you have to change this pipe, that pipe, this is no good, that's no good. This is after all the work that we did. He goes, מה זה משנה? הכל בין השמיים, הכל טוב, let's dance. And they start dancing, dancing, כאילו, we passed all the, right? כאילו we got another ספר תורה in the place. רבותיי, I kid you not, ואני לא מגזים בגרם אחד, מה שאני אומר לכם. פחות מ-10 דקות, less than 10 minutes later, the same inspector walks in with a kippah, my friend. He kisses the mezuzah. I'm not joking. He was a Jew. We didn't know he was a Jew. He put on his kippah in his car. 10 minutes later, walks in, kisses the mezuzah, and he goes back to Yossi Malul. והוא אומר לו, I spoke to my boss. He didn't speak to, he spoke to Hashem, right? I spoke to my boss, and it's really not that big of a deal. I'll check everything, and you just promise me this little pipe over here you're going to switch. These guys called me and told me the story. I was at a brit. I stopped the brit. I said, whoa, wait a second. I said, are you joking with me? They said, no. Abotai, I'm surprised at myself. Why should I be surprised? If you're b'simcha, and you put your emuna in Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could do anything. And He will do anything. The she'ela is, how much emuna bitachon do we put in Him? And when we see a month of Tammuz, and we're all down, and are always looking, and what he has, and the job that he has, and he got, he brought in $100,000 in the last 2 months, and he brought in whatever it is, and you're looking, and why does she have a boyfriend already? She's here for 2 weeks. And why is it that everyone has she'elot? But that's where emuna bitachon comes in. ומה זה אמונה ביטחון? אמונה ביטחון זה להאמין שכל מה שקורה, anything that happens, I'm happy about because that's what's meant for me personally. הייתי בסעודת הודיה לפני שבוע. אוקיי? מישהו מהקהילה, הבן שלו, הוא נפל בתוך הבריכה, he fell in the pool, and Baruch Hashem, the little daughter came, told them, they caught him, they took him to the hospital. Baruch Hashem, he was only there for 30 seconds. They threw it up, and Baruch Hashem made a Seudat Hodaya. So I went to the Seudat Hodaya, and I see someone who's close to me. I did his son's bריתות, תומר, בחור מאוד נחמד. אני רואה שיש לו פלסטר. He has a band-aid right here, down his face. He's a good-looking guy, tall, blondini, Ashkenazi, חתיך, yeah? And he has a plaster ככה. So I go to him, תומר, מה קרה לך? So he goes, הרב, אתה לא תאמין מה אני אומר לך. בחור חילוני. He tells me שהילד שלו, he was playing with צעצועים, and one of his toys, it gave him a srita. He said this was 9 months ago. He said for months, he's putting creams and this and that. סוגר, פותח. סוגר ופותח. Non-stop. His wife, went to get more creams, and the lady told her, we're getting creams. Yeah, chalas already. You tried every cream. I think your husband needs to go see a רופא עור, a skin doctor. He went to the skin doctor, רבותיי. The skin doctor told him, יש לך סרטן פה. לא פה, לא פה, לא שם. Exactly where the srita is, he had a tumor right there. They did a ניתוח. This week I went to do a brit. And who do I see? Karen. מי זאת Karen? Karen, I married her off about 3 years ago. She's married to one of the biggest, Parsiya. She's married to one of the biggest neurological doctors in California, in Cedar Sinai. And she was in labor about 1.5 years ago. And she went through 3 days of gehinom, mamash gehinom. And it's not enough, and she couldn't have an epidural for whatever reason. 3 days of contractions and labor, and all of a sudden, she's mamash towards the end, the baby's about to come out, she's yelling, she throws her arm, and she hits her finger and breaks it. Like, come on, it's not enough everything she went through. Break her finger too. Zeder broke her finger. And she's yelling from her finger, and she's yelling from the baby, and she's yelling at her husband, and the doctor wants to kill everybody. Rabotai, I went to the Brit 8 days later. ואני רואה את קרן with a plaster. מה זה plaster? She was with a whole תחבושת, a massive one, going from here all the way until here. I said, Karen, מה קרה לך? What happened? She says to me, you're not going to believe this. I broke my hand when I threw it, when I had contractions. I broke it. They went to do surgery because it was mamash broken. They opened it up and they found a tumor right there. Right there in that finger. Not the finger next to it. That finger that she broke found the tumor right there. Abotai, everything takes emuna bitachon. And look, not every story is a Walt Disney story and it has a happily ever ending, to every story. But that's part of the emuna bitachon, that if we don't see the end of every story, אבל עדיין, כל עוד שאני חי, ואני נושם, and I'm able to walk, and I'm able to breathe, and I'm able to think, wow, אלוהי, נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא, אתה בראת, אתה יצרת, look how much you do for me, Abba. I'm so grateful for what I do have. Forget about what I don't have. I'm so grateful for what I do have, Rabotai. So on the one hand, Tammuz is a very difficult month because Esav has a koach, Amalek has a koach. People get angry, and people lose their patience, and people are impulsive, and people get down. But at the same time, you have to understand that it's the koach of the sartan. The crab has the koach hitchadshut, that even if a hand gets cut off, he grows it back. That's the koach of Tammuz. It's knowing that what I'm going through is difficult, אבל עדיין יש את האנרגיה ויש את המזל הזאתי that I'm able to get through it. Hashem Yitbarach is going to give me the ability to grow it back. But in order to do that, Rabotai, you have to believe it. When Yossi Malul was dancing, he said, he was, convincing himself. No! הוא באמת האמין שזה דבר טוב. He mamash believed that that's a good thing. So he was dancing mitoch simcha. And if you dance mitoch simcha, you're going to see nisim v'niflaot. There's no question about it. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
It's connected to the beginning. You told us about the and just also recognize the doubt we have about what we should do and what we shouldn't do, and what is a want and what is a want that is connected to our progress to get more things, and how we can distinguish from that being grateful but to critical things about how can I get closer to God, and how can I improve myself in order to get closer. And how can you, where can I draw the line?
The klal is you always have to ask yourself, before you do anything in life, why do I want what I want? Before you get married, you have to ask yourself, why am I getting married? People don't think about why they're getting married, right? Pitom, I married someone off last summer in August. 2 weeks later, they got divorced. Yeah?
Why?
It's a great question. It's a great question. If each one would have gone into the marriage before they went into the marriage and discussed what they wanted, she wanted children, he didn't want children. He wanted her money. Bemet, he wanted her money. Yeah? It was a crazy story. Ad kedei kach, he was so cheap, okay? Be very careful going out with guys who are stingy, okay? She was desperate. She's in her 40s. Her clock was ticking. She wants to have children. She was desperate. She fell for this guy. This guy is the epitome of Lavan in terms of being a kamtzan, okay? He not only, by the way, Ad hayom, he didn't give her a get. So she's in aguna for almost a year. Yeah? Nobody knows who they are. Yeah? She's in aguna for almost a year. The truth of the matter is, if I want, I can be mevatel the entire chuppah in a second without him giving a get. But I don't want to go down that route yet because I want him to be able to, there to be shalom, I want it to come from him, and I want him to do this properly. And I'll tell you why. The kiddushin, there was reason to say that the kiddushin wasn't even a real kiddushin. Because when he said, "Arei at mikudeshet li betabat zu kedat Moshe v'Yisrael," you know that the ring that he gave her, guess what? No, it wasn't fake. He gave her this ring a month before the wedding. I only found this out after. As a birthday present, and he told her, "This is your birthday present, but just let me hold on to it and I'll give it to you again under the chuppah." Rabotai, last Wednesday I wasn't here. I was in Vegas. I had to marry off another person. So the kiddushin, there's no kiddushin because it has to be from his money. He has to give it to her. It didn't belong to her, but this belonged to her. He already gave it to her. So I was at a wedding in Las Vegas last Wednesday night when I wasn't here, and you guys were all smoking outside. Please, guys, I'm asking you, please don't smoke outside. Not you guys, whoever it was, yeah? Please don't smoke outside because we get letters from the office and they want to stop the shiurim. And it's chaval. All you really have to do is just go across the street. So I'm just, agav, I wanted to throw that in. After the chuppah, the kala, I get a message that the kala wants to see me in the yichud room with her chatan. So I go to the yichud room and she's freaking out. She goes, "Rabbi, you're never going to believe what happened." I said, "What?" He said, "He gave me the wrong ring under the chuppah." Now what happened was we were under the chuppah, and I said, "Ifo tabat?" As Bishu megia, and he gives me the tabat. Now the tabat looked a little big to me. I give it to the chatan. The chatan goes, "Oh, Ashkenazi, nechmad kaze, baishan." He's like, "Oh, no. He's British." He's like, "Oh, no, it's not mine, it's not mine." And she's like, "It's yours. You're going to give it to me. Give it to me. Here, finger," right? He's like, "Okay." Gives it to her. It ended up being, it was the tabat that she bought for him, and the tabat that he bought for her, so he never bought it with his money, she bought it with her money, so it belongs to her, he gave her a tabat that belongs to her. Tov, Rabotai, that wasn't so bad, because all we had to do was call in another ed. I called in another rabbi, and in the yichud room, we said again, "Hareat mekudeshet li betabat zu kedat Moshe v'Yisrael," v'pitarnu et habaya. Tov, now there's a separate problem because she thinks she has terrible, mazal, and it's gonna. I told her, if you think like this, then you're gonna have terrible mazal. Don't think like this. זה הדבר הכי גרוע שאת יכולה לעשות. את צריכה לדמיין רק דברים טובים, רבותיי. The koach hadimayon, it can be used for the good and for the bad. So to go back to your question, you have to picture to yourself, like, what are you doing when you're about to do what you're about to do? Like, you want to make money. Like, why do you want to make money? Do people ever think about this? Do people ever think about this? You want to make money, so for what? To make money. And then what? To buy a car. You bought the car. You want to buy a house. You bought the house. I know a guy in Beverly Hills who's worth billions of dollars, okay? This guy's in his 60s. He's still renovating his house. He decided to go under the house and create a basement while his house is still there. He's sending tractors under the house to make a basketball and a tennis court indoor under the house, okay? He doesn't run out of things. It has to be the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. But you have to ask yourself, like, what's the matara over here? So when you think about marriage, you think about what can I gain? But that cannot be the matara. I had a zug sitting in front of me this week, okay? They're Bezrat Hashem getting married in a few weeks. And I knew that there was, he spoke to me, there was issues over there for the past few months. He's more religious, he's a ger tzedek dafka, right? And she's, an American Israeli. She grew up here. Parents are Israeli. And misorati kaze. And she's not where he is. He's shomer Shabbat. And I told them both, I said, if you think that you're going to be able to convince her to be Shomeret Shabbat, and if you think you're going to be able to convince him to not be Shomer Shabbat, I said, forget about it. I don't want to marry you off. I don't want to be a part of this. I said, if you're both looking, the Gemara speaks about one of the Talmidim, I don't remember if it was Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, one of the great Tanaim. And the Gemara says, שהיו להם שמיכה אחת לשבע אנשים. Now, how in the world do you have one blanket to cover 7 people? That blanket, it can't cover 7 people. How's that possible? אחד מהגאונים של דורנו שאל את השאלה הזאת. How is it that 7 תלמידי ישיבות got under one smicha? They were poor. That's how they learned in yeshiva. They were cold. So you know what he said? He said if each and every one, you know what he was doing? He was pulling the smicha to cover the next. And the next guy was pulling it to cover the next person. And if each and every person sees that he's going to take the smicha and he's going to cover the next person, each one wants to give to the other person, so each one is giving, so you're on the same page. You're both givers. Part of being givers is not convincing you to be like me. If a woman thinks she's going to be able to convince a guy to be like him, forget about it. The Shalom Bayit already is in shambles. And if he thinks he's going to be able to convince her, forget about it. Abotai, that's exactly what I was saying with chinuch is. Lechanech yeladim is to find the potential that they have, develop it, and make sure they become who they could become. I don't want my son to be a Rav, because I'm a rabbi, right? But I want him genuinely. I want him to be the greatest person he could possibly be. Just not a drug dealer, right? I don't really want that, right? I want him to develop his proper skills, Rabotai. And my wife, she's insane. Since the kids were small, she would tell my kids, what do you want? You want this or you want that? She still does it to my daughter. Because my daughter, if you tell her, you know, you should wear this dress, she's not going to like it. Exactly, she gives them the options. So she gives them the options, that's it.
Daughter, what does she want? She wants tzaddik. She wants tzaddik. And what else did she say? And everyone to be happy.
And everyone to be happy. Yeah. Yeah, she's a very special neshama, and what's special about her neshama is that she has a very feisty personality, and this very feisty personality she can turn into Bin Laden, like mamash. She could be the worst, yeah. But when she loves, she loves. When she gives, she gives. You know, she's kulo liv. This is what she wants, you know. And if you give her the option, children will want to develop who they are. They want to take their kochot. They want to develop it. Who doesn't? You want to be told what to do. Af echad lo rotze, you know, to be told what they do. That's why, by the way, you know, a mitzuveh ve'oseh is even greater she'eno mitzuveh ve'oseh. That means that a mitzvah that it says in the Torah, if you do it, it's greater than if you decided on your own, I'm going to do a mitzvah. Why? Because it's hard. Hashem told me to do it. Oh, Hashem told me to do it. Pitom, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Right? That's why it's greater to be a mitzuveh ve'oseh mimi she'eno mitzuveh ve'oseh. Abotai, I veered off topic a lot, but I think we touched on very important points over here. And just to, mamash, just to Bezrat Hashem, just wrap everything up, you know, the sartan, and this is the koach of the sartan can go backwards. That's what he does. You ever see the sartan, the crab, he goes backwards, right? Abotai, in life, you have to be able to learn from the crab, you have to be able to learn from him what yes to do, what not to do. This is life. The sartan has his eyes on everything. We have to be like that. Because when you're just focusing on this one thing, that's what develops ayin hara. That's what closes everything in an enclosed box. But when you're able to see the bigger picture, like, wow, Baruch Hashem, aval yesh li kol kach harveh. That was the difference between Yaakov Avinu and Esav. One said, yesh li rav, and one said, yesh li kol. Yaakov Avinu said, I have everything. And what did Esav say? Yesh li rav, I have a lot. Trust me, Esav was one of the richest people. He was a Jeff Bezos. He was a Jeff Bezos and a Zuckerberg together financially. But he still wasn't fully complete and satisfied because yesh li rav, en li et hakol. right? Haman is the same thing. וכל זה איננו שווה לי, because if you're focusing on the one thing, so you're right. If I don't have that one thing, then I'm a nothing. But this is why you have to look at the bigger picture. Back up. Be like the crab. Go backwards a little bit. Look at the bigger picture. See everything we have. Right? Go back a little bit. See at the things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you in the past. HaKadosh Baruch Hu הציל אותנו. כמה פעמים HaKadosh Baruch Hu הציל אותנו? How many times, did it happen that we were driving and all of a sudden, in this split second, you see how Trump's bullet went right there? Mamash. Just turn his head. Boom. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to happen, it's going to happen. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. But it takes us back to being able to be a ma'amin b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. רבותיי, שיהיה לכם לילה טוב. Any questions?